Happy Halloween, everyone! Steven and I are back with another episode of Canadian Gamers, and we really hope you guys have been enjoying the Halloween feature because, well, as of today, it comes to an end. This is how we're wrapping everything up, but I did want to mention fairly quickly that we do have some leftover sort of scary games that I've been playing. Those include The Evil Within, and I'm not going to mention anything else, but a few other little surprises here and there. So there will be scary game footage pretty much going up for the next, probably I'd say for the next week or so, intermittently. You will see, maybe like a review of a spooky game here and there, including a retro game that I'll just hint off by saying some consider this the very first survival horror game ever created. So, yeah. Have you been enjoying the feature, Steven?
Yes, I have. I like the feedback so far. It's pretty cool. I think we're probably going to do that again next year because so far it's been a success.
Yeah, and I'm actually really thinking that, we might do this sort of maybe once again or whatever during the year. Like, obviously we're not going to do a holiday games type of thing, but you had mentioned the Castlevania series, and that might not actually be a bad idea. If I can convince you to actually review, I capture all the footage, that might be another one that we could tackle. But I have to convince you to actually do something.
Yeah, that's usually a hard thing to do.
It is. It really is. Okay, guys, so we're just going to quickly talk a little bit about some of the big news that happened. Just quickly round off some of our thoughts and stuff. I'm going to start with the couple of gaming-related stuff. I just want to mention quick, Nintendo's back in the profit, you said, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have any of the details. We know that. You said something about the Wii U. Did you have specific sales?
Yeah, I did. I think it sold... Well, I did. I could check, but I'm just going to be more... approximative here and say lies, but you can always check those. It doesn't really matter. The point is they sold more Wii U's during, I think the period was July to September or something like that. I think they sold 651,000 worldwide, which is not a big number compared to, let's say, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but for the Wii U is a minimum increase, which is always good when you're increasing your sales. And the only big release they had during that time period was Hyrule Warriors, so that's a good sign. Nintendo is saying that they're still riding the momentum of Mario Kart 8, which is probably true. And as with Super Smash Bros. Hitting the holiday season, you can expect them to again sell more units this year than they did last year. The downside is that they sold, unfortunately, less 3DS during the same period of time as they did last year, which again is not really surprising if you consider all the games that hit last year during this time for the 3DS and all the games that hit this year, which were not that many, besides Smash Bros., which of course sold 3 million copies in its first month, which was a pretty good success story for Nintendo. But now with their new 3DS release, they're expecting to be able to kind of get some more sales. They're still far from their target of, I think they wanted to sell 7.2 million Wii U's this year, or get to that by the end of the year, something like that, and they're probably not going to get to it, they were saying, but they're back in the profit area, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately, this is the thing that fanboys and fangirls don't realize, that ultimately it doesn't really matter. I mean, sure, would Nintendo like to be dominating like they did with the Wii? Well, naturally, right? But as long as the company is profitable and they're expanding their market, that's the most important thing to them. I mean, ultimately, yeah, of course, they would like to be selling like 200 trillion Wii U's, but ultimately, right now, seriously, I still think they made a huge mistake with that name. I really think that was like one of their biggest problems was that, and then every time they talked about the system, they always showed the Wiimotes. And I mean, even us, like when they first unveiled that system, everyone thought it was an accessory for the Wii. And I still say they should have just called it something else. And I'm not saying that they would have sold bajillions of copies more, but I think it would have helped them in the long run. But anyways, the good news is they're selling more, and that's it. And they deserve to, too, because they have a hell of a lot of good games that have been released this year. Just the two you mentioned, Mario Kart and Hyrule Warriors, and especially with Smash coming out, that's a really good, powerful, exclusive lineup, and that's cool.
Yeah, not forgetting Bayonetta 2 also.
Oh, yeah, right.
Came out
Bingo,
last
yep.
Friday.
Yep. Jeez, I downloaded it and haven't even had a chance to play the damn thing. Anyway, more sort of sales sort of stuff, not really, but whatever. Microsoft has officially lowered the price of the Xbox One. They're saying that it's temporary. I call BS on that. I think they're going to just keep this going. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's $350 now with the Connectless bundles and stuff?
Indeed.
All right, so this is, I had actually texted Steven about this when the news broke, because I was like, it's so funny how the media can turn things sort of like on its side. The Xbox One is outperforming the Xbox 360 year to date, okay? So in other words, from when the Xbox 360 got released up until like this point in time in its life, it had sold X amount, and now the Xbox One is performing better than that. And yet, in the media, it sounds like, they're getting destroyed by Sony. Yeah, the PS4 is indeed outselling it for sure, but just don't think of the Xbox One as this colossal failure, because it truly is not. It is selling very, very well. And the only justification I can see for Microsoft lowering the price even further, like now, the $350, is because they simply don't want Sony to pull ahead too far where they won't be able to reach them. But last generation should show people something. When the PlayStation 3 was released, everyone and their mother was like, oh, Sony's finished. They're never going to be able to catch up. It's over. They're doomed. And the Xbox 360 had 1 full year head start, and yet today you could argue that they're in sales parity. One might be a little higher and not a little higher. One might be a little higher, say, for like globally 1 month, and then next the other one, and whatever. But overall, Sony was able to catch up. And the moral of the story here is, don't count the console out, either any console out, until the story is sort of, finished. Because we honestly have no idea. No one knows what's going to happen. You could get another Grand Theft Auto 3 sort of situation, and if those who aren't old enough to remember that, basically when the PlayStation 2 was out, it was dominating the charts. However, its sales slowly started to slow down. Not saying that the GameCube or the Xbox were going to, like match it and outsell it. No, there was no chance of that happening. However, the sales were starting to slow down, and then they had this little game called Grand Theft Auto 3 come out, and the sales just exploded. And had that happen on, say, the GameCube, for example, or the Xbox One, you never really know. I doubt very much it would have been able to surpass what Sony did, but they may have actually been able to get a lot closer to those earlier numbers than what they ended up doing. So what I'm just getting at is you just never know what the future holds, and I don't know why people keep considering the Xbox One a failure in the media when it clearly isn't.
I'm just extremely surprised at how good the offer is right now, because as you forgot to tell me during the text that there was a bundle included with Sunset Overdrive, one of the biggest release of this upcoming holiday season, and it's also included with 350. So not only do you get the system, but you actually get a brand new game that's one of the best games of the seasons for the same price. That's pretty kick-ass, because usually when you get a game with a system, it's not the same price as the system itself, but that I just found amazing, the value of that system. I know I have a personal friend of mine who's going to get that bundle as soon as it's available here.
Yeah, and if I remember, it wasn't so much that I forgot that, I just didn't know. You actually told me, and I was like, what? I'm like, is really? And then I checked, and I was like, yeah, you're right. So anyways, yeah, no, I agree, man. That's crazy. And speaking of which, I got to ask Microsoft about that. That would be a fun game to cover. Have to be, hey, where's our review code? Damn it! Anyways, more sort of quick news for you guys. Where was my list? Okay, yeah. Destiny, the expansion, is coming out. Steven will tell you what it includes because I don't remember. But it's $20. Now, I know there was a season pass or some jazz like that. where if you bought, I think it was a collector's edition for like $100 or something like that, you'd get the 2 expansions were going to be included in or something like that. But if you didn't, $20 seems a little steep because it only comes with like a raid and what were the other things?
All it said, and I didn't click the article, I just read the subtitle. It says a raid and co-op and story missions. So I don't know how many missions they include, but like you said, for $20, that's like almost half the price of the full game. So it's a lot of money for an expansion pack, especially this early in.
Well, that's the thing to me, more so than anything else. It's that is like normally when you launch like an MMO. I know that this is not really an MMO, but still, normally when you launch a game like this, it would have like, 6 raids, it would have had, more worlds than it does, or it would have like a deeper storyline. You know what I mean? Like there'd be just more content there. Because in the end, I mean, this is going to end up really costing a lot. And it already did. If you spent $100 on it for those 2 expansions, I don't know if you really feel like you got your money's worth or not. But anyway, I guess you guys let us know what you think about that. And I was wondering, before I get on to the next news, should I talk a little bit about the problems that I've been having, as you know? Or do you want to leave that as a surprise?
Go ahead.
I figure it out? Okay, maybe one of you guys can help me out here, because I'm actually really annoyed with Play Asia right now. Long story short, I asked the community, how in the hell can I play Dragon Quest X? Because I really enjoyed that, and I think you guys enjoyed it. Those videos got a lot of views for the Dragon Quest X PC beta videos that I did. And so I was curious, just like if I wanted to show you guys maybe a little bit more, maybe not a let's play, but maybe just show you, I don't know, some of the features of the game, what the final game looks like, blah, 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 whatever. And I was just curious, like, how the hell could I really play this if I truly wanted to? And I don't want to go through the whole thing because I will do a video on it. But long story short, I was going through Play Asia, and the weirdest thing in the world has happened to me. It's happened to me 3 times in a row now. I placed an order for a 3DS cover plate, and that's why you haven't seen a video on me showing you how you change it and whatever. And it's because I would place the order, go all the way to the checkout, and then check out using PayPal. You put in your code for PayPal, and, that's it. You're done. And it even says in the status screen for the order, it says paid with PayPal. 20 minutes later to half an hour later, the status has been updated, and it now says refund pending. And about an hour after that, it says order canceled, and they refund my money. But because it's PayPal, the money stays in lieu for about a week. So I don't want to keep placing orders again and again and again and again, because it's going to be like I'm going to have spent like $1,000 because the money stays in lieu. Yeah, I'll get it back, but it might be like the following week or whatever, and I just don't trust that sort of stuff. I don't want this to get lost. So what the hell? Like, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced anything like that, or maybe you can offer me some like advice. Like, what the hell is going on? I put in a request 2 days? Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago now with customer service, and haven't heard a thing back. I posted on their Facebook page, haven't heard a thing back. I don't understand. This is like completely ridiculous, because it would have been a nice little sort of maybe a small feature or a couple of videos I could have done. I was figuring by maybe mid-November or something, but now, like, I just don't get it. I have no idea, and I have no clue what the hell is going on, especially considering it says I paid with PayPal. Like, what the F? And I know you have no comment on that.
No, I didn't know you were finished, but I'm just really, really curious as to why they're not only not shipping you your items, but canceling them out of the blue, even though they still have stock. So it's really weird. Usually Play Asia, they do all they can to gain extra sales, but now it seems like they're doing all they can to not give you not accept your money, which is weird.
It's very weird, and the problem is I don't want to get into too many details, because then I'm going to spoil the whole video, but the solution for me to play Dragon Quest X on a monthly basis requires Play Asia. There is nowhere else on the internet I can go for the item that they sell. So, like, I'm screwed. There's literally nothing I can do. If they don't get back to me with their customer service, well, then that's it. I'm not playing any Dragon Quest X. And I did want to make a mention of that. I don't understand Square Enix and that game. I just don't get it. It's as if it's like their national treasure or something, and they are protecting this with, like, the full extent of the law. I don't get it at all. Why would you IP block the game? For real. Does it really matter? It's so ridiculous. So I got to hide my ass in order to switch my IP so they think I'm in Japan, but that slows the net down. So I'm not going to have like an optimal experience. Then there's the fact that they don't accept North American credit cards. That's so stupid. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I find that so ridiculous. Look at Nintendo. I'm able to import the 3DS or the Wii U. I'm able to put my credit card in, and it's okay. The system is like, oh, well, it's an online purchase. It doesn't matter if they're in Canada or if they're in India. Who cares? And yet with Square Enix, it's like, no. You have to have a Japanese card. You have Japanese address. It's no. I don't get this. Like, really? Does it really matter? We are giving you cash. Do you not like cash? Like, I don't get it. It's not like you're marketing it to a worldwide market and stuff. No, it's a Japanese game. It's going to be for for the Japanese players. But if a European or a North American wants to go through the hurdle of playing the game all in Japanese, they have, like, why not? I just don't get it. Nintendo's clearly like, yeah, man, we want money. Yeah. They're all for it. But I just don't get it. Tweet. Anyways, that's that. So I'm going to move on to our last bit of news before we tackle something fun. And that is, Marvel announced a whole buttload of movies and release dates and a whole bunch of crap. I'm not going to go in any order here. I wrote them all down. I read it on an article, and I'm just going to list it the way they had listed it, okay? So they confirmed that Doctor Strange is coming out November 4th, 2016. They announced a movie on the Inhumans, which is cool. Those are the guys that were, if I'm not mistaken, they were biologically not engineered, but I think their genes were crossed with the Kree. But that's interesting because the Inhumans, in a lot of ways, some people consider them almost like mutants. So it's going to be interesting to see how Marvel sort of plays with that. That could be very, very intriguing. That one comes out November, I can't even read my handwriting, November 2nd, 2018. They also announced a standalone Black Panther movie for November 3rd, 2017, and they said that Black Panther will be a key character in the Avengers movies moving forward. So that's going to be interesting. They announced Captain Marvel, which will be Carol Danvers? Denver? What is it?
No clue.
Damn it, I don't remember her name.
Did you say Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel?
No, I think they called it Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think they said Miss Marvel. I think it was Captain Marvel. Anyways, whatever. July 6, 2018, obviously that's going to play into the Avengers as well. Now, going back to Black Panther here, because this is important. Well, important. It's relevant. They're saying in their little, they did a little press conference type of thing, and they say basically there's going to be the whole world affected by what's going on in the Avengers 2, and people are going to start to be on both sides of the equation of whatever is happening. Now, obviously, it's not going to be talking about identities, secret identities, and stuff like that. It's more going to be I think the the word just left my brain. I can't think. But basically, it's sort of like the ideals. Like the government, S.H.I.E.L.D., all that. Well, spoiler alert here, but S.H.I.E.L.D. was basically totally compromised by Hydra, right? So I think they're going to play this angle where should the government be more involved, have things more in the open and everybody knows what's going on, or do we really need to be protected by secret societies and things that we don't know? I'm making this up. It might not be that, but I have a feeling that's where they're going. because they specifically said that Black Panther is going to be caught in between both sides of whatever argument is coming up. And why is that relevant? Only because they announced that Captain America 3 is going to be called Captain America Civil War. And it comes out May 6, 2014, and Robert Downey Jr. will have a significant role. So we know that both him and Captain America are going to be on either side of whatever it is that they discuss. Black Panther most likely is going to be involved in this as well. So it's going to, the only thing I can see, like based on the way they're going, it's going to probably be something like political or something that helps separate the two sides. So that's intriguing. Oh, and it's great. They made a nice joke. They announced Captain America 3 right away, and it was something I can't remember what it was, but it was something like Captain America, the Serpent something, like the Serpent Squad or the Serpent. I can't remember what it was. But so all the fans were sort of like, oh, okay. You know, they were all surprised, and then at the end when they started talking about this whole division and stuff like that, then they go back and they're like, you know, that name sounds kind of corny. How about this one? And they press the next slide, and it says Captain America Civil War. So I thought that was pretty cool, and the crowd went nuts when they did that. Anyways, they also got Thor Ragnarok. Now, Ragnarok is interesting because that's sort of like the end. And they said that what happens in this Thor movie will have a major impact on the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's really cool. Don't know exactly what's going on there. They announced Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for May 5th, 2017. And then the big one where you see Thanos and he's looking at the screen and his like fist slowly starts rising and you see he's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. And they announced the Avengers Infinity War Part 1 for May 2018 and Part 2 for May 2019. And there you go.
My first thought, because I didn't read these news at all, I just read your text and my other buddy's text, and I just don't want any spoilers and whatnot, but I'm pretty excited for that. But my first thought is, it's going to be hard to do a Civil War without the Spider-Man character, because as you know, he's one of the major characters in the Civil War storyline when he does his public unmasking. So I wonder if they don't get Spider-Man, because rumors are they're trying to get permission from Sony to use Spider-Man in their movies, some sort of deal. And if they're not able to do so, how will they focus that storyline without Spider-Man? Are they going to do something similar to that Spider-Man story, but with another character? Like, that's what the first thing that comes to mind when I think about these announcements.
You see, for me, the thing is this. Civil War, for those that don't know, basically what happened was a group of superheroes was chasing the supervillain, and he exploded and killed a bunch of kids in like a school or in like a whole bunch of people or something like that. I don't remember all the details exactly, but that sparked the government to say, you know what, there's got to be accountability for these masked vigilantes. People need to know who they are, because if they do stuff like this, they should be held accountable to the full extent of the law. Just like a cop, if a cop goes out and kills 16 people, you know, and it wasn't like there was no shootout, the person just lost their mind, of course they're going to be arrested and everything like that. And so they tried to ground this story in realism, well, as much as possible. And so what happened was basically all the superheroes had split. Some were registering. You had to register who you were with the government, so they had a file on you. And the other ones were saying, no, that's not right. That, you know, we have the right to protect our loved ones and stuff like that. And what Steven's saying with Spider-Man was basically the turning point in the whole story was he came out and said, I'm Peter Parker. And it caused major like ramifications throughout the entire Marvel universe. And it's was one of the highest selling miniseries of all time, because it was just this had never been done in comics quite like this before. The only thing is, in Marvel's cinematic universe, do they even have any of their characters so far that are masked?
Not that I know of, because Tony Stark basically unmasked in the first Iron Man movie. Captain America, well, everybody kind of knows who he is. Thor, same. So I'm not sure. Is there anybody maybe Hulk, but not even that. Like, I don't know how they can play that, because the big point is that the heroes that register and the heroes that don't register. The heroes that don't register, the reasoning behind that is that villains will know who their family is, who their loved one is, and can then use them as collateral damage, or use them as bait, or just kill them, get back at them for some reason or another. So that's why they're saying we should not be treated like normal citizens, because we do put our lives in danger, and we have villains and stuff like that. And right now, there's not anybody that I think of that has a similar role than Spider-Man in the current Marvel cinematic universe. So that's why I believe that Spider-Man is really a major need for this kind of story. And I'm not as confident as I am with all the other Marvel movies as to whether they can make it work without him.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. That's what I'm going to say. It's going to be really interesting. And I have a real good feeling that when this is all wrapped up, I would not be surprised if they do a World War Hulk or something like that, just because they're taking some big chances here. They really are. Like, we'll say Miss Marvel, because I'm not sure if it was Captain Marvel or not, but like that's going to be a risk. And if they can make that a success, well, damn, man, that's something. Oh, I didn't mention Ant-Man. Well, Ant-Man's in this too somewhere, but whatever.
World War Hulk news is interesting, because you had texted me a photo earlier a few months ago, and basically everything on that photo was announced yesterday besides World War Hulk.
Exactly.
And my first comment was that they can't really do a World War Hulk justice without doing Planet Hulk, which is, in my opinion, way better than World War Hulk was. Not saying that World War Hulk wouldn't make a great summer action movie, but they need to do Planet Hulk before that. And would they risk it? Because Planet Hulk would basically be a movie with Hulk and none of the other Marvel characters. And Hulk movies, for a reason or another, have never been as successful as all the others. But Planet Hulk, for me, is one of the best Hulk stories there is. And if they want to do a World War Hulk, they kind of need a Planet Hulk, because it wouldn't make sense without it.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I would love to see that, man. That would be awesome. But I don't know. I agree. I think maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're hesitant just because the live action movies just haven't really, set the world on fire or anything like that. But they are taking chances here. They are really taking some risks with some of these, like the Inhumans. That's not a popular series. Even Black Panther, like...
I think after Guardians of the Galaxy, they just said, fuck it, we're doing everything, because everything's working right now.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think. I think they're just like, exactly, that we're on fire. Okay, I think it's time. Let's do our little special feature. So for this, why don't you introduce this? Go ahead. This was your idea.
Yeah, it was. I talked about it a little during the last podcast, and I texted you the details earlier. And basically what I want to do is our top 5 scary moments or stressful moments. Anything related to Halloween or horror or being scared or whatever you want in video games. So it's as simple as that. And basically we're going to talk about 5 games or 5 moments that happened during our gaming career, if you want to call it that, that are interesting and Halloween themed. So I don't know if you want me to start, or you probably do, because you haven't done the list and you're going to do them on the fly as usual. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to go in chronological order here, and you don't need to do the same. But my first scary moment happened when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. And the game I'm going to talk about, you're going to laugh when I say that, but it's Dragon Warrior, the original Dragon Warrior. And the big reason for that is, first is because of my age. I was 3 and 4, or 4 or 5, whatever. I was really young at the time. And the only games I had played there was like Mario Brothers, Tetris, Duck Hunt, Ice Hockey, Zelda, things like that. So first concept of Dragon Warrior, I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue what you were supposed to do. And I kept dying right away. And I remember this very fondly. I was actually watching my mother or her friend play the game, and I was in the stairs, and I was just looking with the tip of my eye just so I can see just a bit, and it freaked me out, because as soon as you got you saw monsters, there was this different music, and for me that music felt very threatening. I don't know why, but there was something about that music. And then when your health got very low, the screen would turn red, and the music would suddenly go even more intense and fast, and it was just a very, very scary moment for me. I had nightmares of that game when I was a kid. And even when you, like, there was always those little slimes that weren't a threat, but then you would go farther, and there was ghosts and scary skeletons and stuff like that, and would basically kill you in one hit. So, yeah, that game was super scary for me as a kid, and I don't know, it's just a weird experience that I have, and I still remember. I don't have many memories of my early childhood, but that's one of them. So that game left a mark on me.
Well, there you go. That was it, guys. That's what started his whole career down the path of Scaredy Cat. Well, I don't have any real scare. I actually wrote a bunch of games down that I wanted to talk about. But the thing with me was, when I was younger, I didn't really like Castlevania, for example, right? That didn't do anything to me because there was nothing particularly scary about it. The first time where I was genuinely like, whoa, and I've mentioned this like 100 million times probably now over different podcasts and features and whatever, but it was with the original Resident Evil. That I just want to get that one out of the way right away, because that was the very first time a game actually made me jump. I didn't scream and like, oh my god, but I remember, I don't know if I actually dropped my controller or like pitched it across the room, but man, it scared the living crap out of me. And you know which scene sort of like freaked me out? And this is funny. In hindsight, going back and talking about this now, it makes me laugh, but it was the very first scene where Wesker like disappears after you go in the hallway. It wasn't the first zombie or anything like that. It was, or wait, yeah, actually, wait a sec, hold on. No, I think it was before the zombie. Anyway, whatever. It's the door, like where Wesker stands behind. I wanted to leave, and I don't remember if you were allowed to go and open the door with Wesker standing there, or if you had to go and play the whole scene. I don't even remember, but whatever. That first scene where I opened up the door and the dog like jumps out and you slam the door, that scared the shit out of me, man. I like just like fling that controller wherever it was, and I just, and then of course the whole game. I mean, I could talk about each individual little like element, but no, that one game, just every aspect of it, and really I could probably say like every single entry in this series scared me in a different way, but I'm going to highlight a couple of other things, but later on. But yeah, Resident Evil 1, so unlike anything else I had played before.
For me, my second moment I wanted to talk about, and I'm not gonna mention every single game that scared me because we'd be here forever, but my second moment for me, I'm gonna jump because, like I said, I'm gonna go in chronological order. I'm gonna go right to Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube, which still to this day, I don't know if you've played it recently, but it still looks absolutely stunning. I don't know how they did that in, like, that was 2 or 3 console generations ago. It's still one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. And that game, from start to finish, was a really, really I'm looking for a word here, but really, really painful experience for me. Like, really, I had to pull everything out of me to continue playing it because I just was super, super scared all the time, super stressed. And the biggest moment during that game, which was really fearful for me, was the new character they introduced. I think her name was Lisa. And she would just, I don't know, just the backstory behind her and how she looked now and how you needed to kill her, which she was chasing you. Not really fast, really slow, but still she was like this grotesque monster chasing you, and you had to do a certain thing to kill her. I don't remember, but I think you had to trap her somewhere. That was just so stressful for me. Like, I was playing this game, like, the lights fully on. I had my girlfriend at the time right near me, and I could not, like, I was still freaked out. Like, I don't know what that game had. Even today, like, I'm still very, very stressed about going back and trying it. That's my number 2 moment. I've said enough. It's so scary, that game.
Oh, so you're going to be looking forward to it. It's coming out early next year, right? The new
I believe
version?
so.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm going to list 5 games or not, because the thing is, you're mentioning stuff that I was going to add anyways, so we'll see. I didn't want to mention every single Resident Evil game, but I think what I'm going to do for right now is I'm going to mention 2 other things, or 3 actually, and combine it into one, so I might run out of stuff. I want to talk about, I mentioned Resident Evil 1, and I mentioned that one specific scene, but there's 3 other scenes that I want to mention. I should have probably done this all for the last one, but whatever. I wanted to mention in Resident Evil 2, when you do the second playthrough, and that friend of yours pops out every once in a while. That was some creepy stuff, man. When you don't expect that, and you just see like either a little, not a cinematic, but where you just see him coming or after you or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, and you just try and get out of there. That does it. Now I know for you can mention Nemesis, but I never actually found Nemesis to be overly creepy. Not as much as with Resident Evil 2, for whatever reason. Maybe it's I got desensitized to it or whatever. There was Resident Evil Remake. That, like you said, man, that still holds up to this very day. Such an incredible looking game, and I loved the way that they screwed with you, because if you played a lot of the original Resident Evil like I did, they purposely added like so many things, like the whole shark sequence was all, like all that crap, and it was just so different that you're like, oh yeah, I know what's down this hallway, and you go down the hallway and now there's like 4 extra doors, and you're just like, whoa. Or if you went to a specific area and you're like, oh yeah, I know what's coming, and then bam, right in your face. That was just absolutely brilliant. And then the whole beginning of Resident Evil 4, I just wanted to mention those in particular scenes. I thought that was incredible. When the guy with the chainsaw comes after you and whatever, I was just like scared shitless. Like I thought that, like, what the hell is going on? Oh my god! Like, enemies coming all over. I love that. And I know I'm breaking the rules by talking about 100 different things, but there you go.
And my third moment is the game you just mentioned, Resident Evil 4, which I still really want you to go back to and try it again. Especially I want you to experience professional mode, and hopefully you'll do that game a nice little review after you're done. I know you were working on that review like 2 years ago, and then you stopped and moved on to something else like you usually do. But Resident Evil 4 professional mode, that's my number 2 moment for one reason. Resident Evil 4 is like one of those games that's really controversial. Pretty much everybody agrees that it's an exceptional game, except some Resident Evil like hardcore fans that are really don't like the turn the series took since Resident Evil 4, which is fine. You don't have to like everything. But for me, that game is one of my favorite of all times. And the reason I'm talking about professional mode is that they really cut down the amount of ammo they give you during professional mode, and the difficulty is increased by a lot, which kind of makes it a bit closer to the survival horror roots it had in the originals. And there's a particular sequence in particular, like the game Resident Evil 4, even if you play it on the regular difficulty, it's still a stressful game. Like you mentioned, the part with the chainsaw guys, and it's basically non-stop action from start to finish with a few scares along the way. Not as much as the originals, of course, but there's still some scary parts in there. But professional mode, there's one part where, I don't know if you remember those guys, they basically are blind guys. They have these Wolverine claws, they're huge, and the only way you can kill them is shoot them in the back, I believe. Well, there's a part in the game where you're stuck in a cage with one of them, which is pretty fucked up when you think about them, because you don't have space. Your only advantage against those guys is that they can't see you, so you can move around and try to kill them from afar. But now you're stuck in a really small cage with one of them that can kill you instantly. And in professional mode, man, that part is just like ridiculously hard. And a few other games I'm going to talk about later in my part 4, my 4th and 5 moment, is not necessarily always about the scariness of the game. Sometimes it's about the difficulty of the game that makes it so scary or so stressful. And that's why Resident Evil 4 is my 3rd moment.
That is awesome that you mentioned that. Because I was leaving this next one for that. and it's funny because I was going to actually say that, was tension. I wasn't actually going to use fear. I will for the next two. And this game might surprise you. The boss of Uncharted 2, I thought was quite challenging. I don't even remember what the mechanic was. I think you had... No, I don't even remember. I remember it was tough. And I always played that series. I don't know why. I start that series on hard, and then I do... I don't see. It's been so long since I played an Uncharted game. I don't remember what the top difficulty is. But I always
Crushing,
go back.
I believe.
Crushing? Okay, there we go. And so, anyways, I had a hard time with that last boss. I don't know what it was, but the first boss in Uncharted 1 there was a pushover. It was like a complete joke. It was basically a cinematic. And in part 2, they actually had like mechanics. You had to run around. You had all this stuff. And if I remember right, he's coming after you with like a shotgun or something like that. And it was brutal. It was just, I found it so hard. I know you can watch playthroughs and people are probably going to call me a pussy or whatever, but I don't know. I thought it was crazy. And yeah, talk about tension, crushing, getting all the way there. My heart was literally like pounding out of my chest when I got to the end because I was like, oh man, this is going to be brutal. And I was so, like, freaking out over going to this boss that, yeah, it affected me more than almost all the survival horror games I played because I was just like, I'm never going to do this. You know, I got all the way here, and I was so worried, and I actually had an easier time beating him on crushing than I did on hard for whatever reason, but I'll never forget that because I was just so stressed out getting to him. I was like, oh, shit. I was just not looking forward to it in the least.
All right, good. I like that. Some originality in there. That's good. I thought you were going to talk about Resident Evil 1 5 different times, but that's good. I like it. My fourth moment is actually a game that I want you to record footage for this, and it's called Zombie U for the Wii U. And people don't often talk about that game. And remember when I mentioned that Resident Evil was the scariest game I've ever played, a remake? I might have lied a little because Zombie U I also played in the light with my girlfriend right beside me, and that one I could never come close to finishing it because it's not only is the visuals really impressive, but I believe they are, and the atmosphere is like you're always playing in super dark areas. What the problem is with that game is that it's insta-kill. You get bitten from a zombie. It's not like Resident Evil where you can just use an herb and everything's good for some reason. Here you get bitten by a zombie, you're dead. That's it. There's no ifs and whatever. You're dead. You need to restart the whole game. Now there you can go back and get some items back and whatnot, but still the fact that you need to go back all the way there, which is in the beginning is just scary thing to do. Just get back from where you are because it's really hard to kill a zombie in that game. So the difficulty has a lot to do with it. The visuals have a lot to do, but just the fact that it's insta-death is why I believe that this is one of the scariest games out there.
Well, my next one is, I can't decide if it's Silent Hill 1 or 2, but I want to mention that because of all the games that I'm going to talk about and this and that, and I hope we're not saving the last one is going to be the same for the two of us because that would suck. But anyway, the thing with Silent Hill, the first two, I think I'll lean in probably more to part 2 just because the graphics had improved so much more. But man, that game got in my head, man. Like with part 1, with the fact that your daughter's gone missing and you can barely see anything at night and all the creepy sound effects and everything. Like Resident Evil scared me in the boo, like sort of thing, but with Silent Hill, like I shut the game off and I'm thinking about it, you know, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm stuck in a school and there's like I can't see shit and there's blood all over the walls and stuff and I'm hearing children screaming and crying and like, oh my god, like that was the one and only game that's ever done that, where it actually got in my head and like really stayed in my head for a long time.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to finish off with our 5th game, and I believe we're going to talk about the same game, but whatever. We're both going to have different reasons, I'm sure, and that game is Aliens Isolation, as you recently reviewed, and you gave me the. I was really interested in trying it out, and we did last Saturday. Like I said in the last podcast, we had a game night. Basically, we're four guys and four girls in the same room playing this game, and it was the freakiest thing I've ever experienced. I don't know if you can see by the videos, but the thing about that game is there's this freaking alien chasing you during the entire game, and if he just so much as sees you, you're dead. We played the game for like 7 hours, so we're not as far. I don't know if at some point there's a way to actually defend yourself against this alien, but we tried some things like using a flare, and nothing works. If he sees you, you're dead. That's the bottom line. The first time he saw us, we all screamed. I remember it to this day. It was so freaking, like, I had trouble playing after that. Because he sees you, and in half a second, you're dead. He has that face. He just starts sprinting, and not like casually. He sprints at you like he really, really wants you dead. And that feeling I've never had anywhere else. Like, it's you need to experience it at least once just to know what I'm talking about. Like, seeing that guy, like, and I swear sometimes it's unfair. Like, sometimes it doesn't seem like you can escape. Because he has a random pattern. Sometimes you'll get out of the locker, and immediately after you got out of the locker, he's right back in the room, and he sees you, and you're dead. Sometimes you're hiding in the locker, and he doesn't see you. He goes to the locker, he puts his face right at the locker, and he sees you, and you're dead. Like, basically, there's a trophy in that game for beating the entire game without dying. I don't know if that's possible without
I don't
any
either.
cheating device, because this guy, like, he's a really, really good, like, hunter. He doesn't mess around, and, like, I don't know if we're just really, really bad at that game, but man, he kills us every single time, and it's just, the progress in that game is so slow, because you always need to really go from room to room really, really slowly and stealthily, and if you do some progress, it's good, but then eventually he'll probably kill you before you can save. So yeah, that's my fifth moment right now.
Okay, well, okay, wow, what was that? If you guys don't mind, I actually want to talk about two things, because I wanted to not talk about Resident Evil separately, so I'm going to pretend that was all number one, just because I like talking about these sorts of things, because I wanted to mention Alien Isolation, but that was not my number one.
Awesome.
So I'm going to say that this is my number two, will be Alien Isolation. And I said it in the review. I said, is it a perfect game? No. But I've never in my life experienced something that feeling of being an ant and having a human chase me. That's what the odds are. You are not going to survive. And it's the closest I've ever experienced to actually being in the original Alien movie, because in the original Alien movie it was just like that. That son of a bitch was everywhere in that movie. Wherever you wouldn't expect him to be, he was there. And they captured that essence perfectly. Yeah, it might be cheating or cheap or whatever, but based on the source material that they went with, I think it's freaking awesome, man. I had him come up right to the locker, okay? He was walking around, looks right at the locker, doesn't see me, and walks away. I almost creamed my pants. I was so scared that I was like, oh my God, we're dead. We're dead. I'm dead. That's it. I had so many moments like that, where I was going and in the duct, you'd see the saliva or whatever coming down, and I just froze. And the guy would drop down right in front of me or really close to me, and then walk straight. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I was just and I thought that was just amazing, because I never ever had that before, and I'm glad that you all flipped out. I would have loved to have seen you guys play the PT demo.
Just before you move on there, I just want to ask you, do you remember the first time you died because of the alien?
The first time I died with the alien was in the medical bay.
And how did that happen?
It happened when okay. right before the medical bay, before the androids, when you first meet him, you got to wait. You got to get out of that area. You got to go to the transport, right?
Indeed.
Okay. Well, for that, I just moved at like an ant's pace, and well, that doesn't. Maybe that snail's pace is more realistic. And so that was cool for me. But when he came back at the end, like when you go down all those stairs and then you come back up, that's like I think the second. I might be wrong. I've been playing a lot of other crap now, but I think it's something like that. And you have to make your way around, like that area where there were those guys that were like the other survivors were there, and then he goes and picks them all off, and you have to slowly make your way around. I managed to do that. Okay. It was right in the medical bay. When you have to go and find that dude's card, I think, was it a card? Oh, no, it was for the girl. You had to go down and get supplies, that's what it was. And as you're in that area, whatever, that's when he drops down. That was the first time that I actually died. And I died over sheer stupidity because I started to get cocky with the people. Like in that last segment that I just mentioned, as I was walking through, I was literally walking. I wasn't even like, slowly micro crawling. So I was a little bit cocky. And what I did was, you see my first death is actually in the video. In the video review, at the end of the video review, that was my first death I ever had. Where I thought I could hide sort of in the corner and he would walk by and he just looked at me and was like, "Wah!" He came and got me. That was my first death.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've had as many deaths as we did, but like I said before, it seems like if he sees you, there's absolutely no way to escape. And I'm not sure if you can say more about that, if that remains true for the entire game, but for us right now, like he cannot see you if you want to survive.
Yeah, well, no, that's pretty much the way it is. You got to get the flamethrower. Do you have that?
No, we do not.
Okay, well, once you get that, you can sort of like startle him where he'll run away. And then that's your run away. He'll like, avoid it, right? And that's your like, okay, get the F out of here, and you can sort of go and hide again. And then it goes back to the game of cat and mouse again.
Okay.
But no, man, I'm serious. Like, that, I've never experienced a video game like that. But since you're done, right? Your list?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one other game that I had to mention. I'm sorry about the Resident Evil guys. It's just that series had such a huge impact on me. I should have combined all of that into one, but whatever. I want to mention Eternal Darkness. And when I say this is my number one, it's because I've never had a game do what this game did to me. Ever. There was, I don't know if you guys remember, if you've even played the game, but there were these things called sanity effects, and what they would do is they would sort of mess with your sanity, okay? Now, at the time, I think the internet must have been around by that time and been popular. Whatever. Well, I either read it on the internet, or I read it in EGM or Nintendo Power or whatever, and they had mentioned all these sanity effects, and so I was expecting sanity effects, right? So I was like, yeah, whatever. I got this. I've played Resident Evil. I played Silent Hill. I got this. And I didn't find the game scary at all. Really, I didn't. I know some people are like, oh man, it's so creepy. That didn't do anything for me. However, the sanity effects, I will never forget. So the first one was the volume. You start to see the volume go up and down, and I was like, whoa, what the hell? What's going on with my TV? Because the volume that they showed in the game, the graphic was identical to my television's graphic for volume. So I actually thought it was my volume that was going up and down. And then they show you like this thing, it's like your memory card's erasing, and then finally the whole screen went black, and I was like, no! I lost my save! What the shit? And I like flipped out. I had like this whole moment where I just totally flipped out. And my brother was there, and he was like, oh, dude, what the hell? Your system must be screwing up, and blah, 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 blah. And even though all of this happened in the span of like literally probably 20 seconds, because then after the game came on, and man, I just sat down, me and my brother looked at each other, and we were like, that was awesome. And no game has ever done that to me before. I just thought that was brilliant.
A lot of people mentioned that in that game, but for me, like I really enjoyed that game. I found it scary. Not unlike you, I found it scary at some parts, and I thought it was a really well-made game, but the sanity effects never did it for me, simply because all of them were spoiled before the game was released. And that's why I don't like spoilers anymore. That's why I don't watch trailers for games or movies I want to see anymore, because of Eternal Darkness. Like, for me, that would have been so cool if I did not know about the sanity effects before the game came out. But unfortunately I did, and because of that, I never was surprised by those. Every time there was something unusual happening during the game, I expected sanity effects. So yeah, they never caught me off guard, but yeah, it was a really cool feature.
And it's just funny because I read about this, right? And that's what made me laugh. Like, at the end, we're just looking, we're both like, that's awesome, and then we both started laughing. And the reason we were laughing is because I knew about this. Like, I had talked to my brother about this, like, oh yeah, there's these cool effects where they, like, screw with your mind a bit, and they do this, and they do that, and yet here I am, flipping out that something is happening to my TV or my GameCube, and I felt like a total moron after, but whatever. That was that. So that wraps up our phenomenal Halloween 2014 special feature, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I think so. By the feedback that we've gotten, that we've received by all you guys, I think this was a big success, and I think what would be really cool, we'll have to be careful what we do over the next year in terms of content, but I think what would be really cool is if we sort of like maybe challenge ourselves, or maybe you guys give us a challenge. But we'll talk more about this obviously as things go on. But maybe things like, you can only mention one game in a series or something like that. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe you guys could mention some games to us. I know there's a series that we have not tackled, like the Fatal Frame series. I don't believe we've ever done any of the Condemned games. There's still the other Silent Hills. We haven't, touched on any of the PlayStation 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 games. Like, there's a lot of survival horror or just horror games in general that we haven't touched. And maybe you guys can suggest some for us for next year. And it would be great to get Steven to do some reviews of these games, because they're always entertaining.
Yeah, it would. And our Halloween special might be over, but the survival horror games coverage doesn't stop, so I believe we have a review for you guys tomorrow of The Evil Within, so be sure to keep it locked and keep checking the site for even more survival horror coverage. We're giving you bonus content right now.
That's right. Yeah, we got The Evil Within, and then on Wednesday, I don't want to tell you what it is, but we have another survival horror game for next Wednesday, and I'm working on a couple other things that even Steven doesn't know about.
Awesome.
So thank you all very much for checking us out. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. If you enjoy the content, leave a comment, let us know. And, well, as Steven always says, we'll see you in the next video.